Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War event objectives for the Hot-Headed event in which the Flaming Skeleton is added to the game. So this is a interesting week in that we have the reintroduction of the Journey event. So the Journey event is an event that has only ever happened one other time, all the way back in December of last year, so it's been like, what, 5 months? Pretty much since the last one, and yeah, this is a pretty relatively new game mode, as this is the very second week that we're ever going to be doing it. So we will be starting off by talking about the Journey event, and then going over all the rest of the stuff that we normally go over in a standard weekly video. So as far as the Journey event is concerned, it's a little bit of a weirder event. It has a double restriction, so we specifically have to use undead that are also purple. This of course leaves us with very few options. As far as how you want to go about it, you basically just want to take the highest one with miles. However, there are a few things to consider. You want to win as few turns as possible and not lose any units. Otherwise, you do end up losing a portion of your miles if you take too many turns or per unit that you end up losing. One other thing to consider is that given how restricted we end up you generally want to build for a bit of a quicker kill for the earlier battles, and then build into something a little bit tankier as you keep going deeper and deeper, as they do get pretty hard. The amount of stats that you're going to end up needing, you're probably going to need to end up replacing out your hero class for Barrier Brown and put it up front, and something similar in order to make sure that you don't end up dying, as it is very important to keep your team alive, more so just to even win the battles once you get to a certain point, as the restriction is pretty heavy. We don't have too many good options. You can go down the Skull Spam route. None of the teams actually show here are Skull Spam related. However, it is a mechanic you can use here. However, the main ones you probably want to do are true damage because they're better at surviving. You have this Wall of Bones, which is a few cheesy strategies like looping with itself. However, that takes too many turns, so I would not advise going like triple. This is a cheap team we have here. I will be showing all the three of those teams first. We don't normally start with teams, but it will be in description below as well as per usual. However, I feel like for an event like this, it's pretty important. Another pretty nice combination is Judge of the Dead with Fairish Ra. This is a pretty good soul combination that has a really high impact amount of damage because you boost ratios off all your souls. You can also use Fairish Ra to try to one-shot stuff with his very high damage. We also need the Fairish Ra ability so he actually has more damage because you have a higher soul cap, which will allow him to actually hit higher. Anyways, yeah, long story short, take whatever the highest miles is, make sure not to die, and try to win as few turns as you possibly can. And you're pretty much good to go. You will sometimes see a resource next to them. You can take them if you want, as long as it's higher miles. And you'll sometimes see stats, like I've already had an option to get an HP, but I didn't end up taking it because we had a different option that ends up going for slightly higher miles. You can take them if you want. You might get to a point where you feel like you might even have to take them just to have a little bit of few extra stats. As far as the game mode is concerned, do keep in mind that it requires 1,350 gems if you want to get all the way to upgrading it, though you can do the blue orb thing to end up getting it early at tier 5 if you so choose. However, if you're looking for the achievement, it does appear that the amount of points from the previous one does not count. Like, I have not seen this number moved, which means you're very likely going to have to do this in a single journey event, which it does say technically. However, yeah, it seems like that is required. So all 20,000 of those points have to be done in a single event. This is how far we got getting tier 6. I believe you have to spend like 3, 4, maybe 5, probably 3 or 4,000 gems in order to get this achievement. It is a very hard achievement. Actually, if we break it down to percents, I believe it is still at 0.1%, tied with, what's it called? Tied with the Horde Mimic one, which we still haven't found yet, but it's a really hard achievement. This is going to go up probably a few ticks this week, just because, you know, more people will end up doing it now that it's back around finally again. However, it is a really expensive achievement to go for. Minimum, you're probably going to be doing 3,000, if not higher, so do be wary of that. We do get a new weapon here. Weapon is very useless. However, this is relevant for one thing. I guess we're going all weird order here, but Ghulvania is actually the first ever 27-star kingdom in the game. As you can see here, it is currently 26, and you might be wondering why I say 27, because, you know, it says not available yet. However, this is a first Friday of month Mythic week, which means we're getting a new Mythic this Friday, and one thing to be mindful of that is it's a Ghulvania Mythic, or it should be, unless they're changing which one it is, which normally doesn't happen. It's actually coinciding with the week. However, because of that, there are two things to mention. One is if you want to event key drop table for the Grey King, make sure you event key drop table now on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, because if it's anything like the Arachnian Weaver week, On Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you will not be able to get them in the event key drop table. I'm not sure if after Weaver they're going to tweak how that functions. However, if it works anything like the Arachne Weaver week when that ended up happening, you will not be able to get Grey King during Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And is there another mythic there? I can't remember, but Grey King's the only relevant one. So do be mindful of that if you want to get Grey King open event keys on either today, tomorrow, Wednesday, or Thursday. Once Friday hits and that mythic's in a drop table, you might not be able to event key for it. Not sure how that will interact. But anyways, it will be 27 starable. I do not advise getting it at 27 stars. 26 is where you should stop. The main reason for this is, one, you probably won't even be able to. Very few people have probably gotten the other Halloween pet maxed. Though if you did, then I guess you can end up doing that. However, you also have to get the kingdom to level 18, and the relevant reason why you wouldn't want to do this is it's a purple-based kingdom. Of course, what's pretty relevant about that is most purple-based kingdoms are magic-based. This is not a magic-based purple-based kingdom, so you'd be better off spending your purple deed books on a magic-based purple kingdom rather than ever spending on Ghulvania. So I highly, highly, highly advise, even if you have the resources for it, to not try to get 27 star on Ghulvania, as it's basically a waste of your resources. So just get it to 26, even though it's theoretically the first 27 star kingdom as of this Friday. So we're getting pretty high up there. Anyways, so let me go real quick into now the teams, just for specifically the raid event. I'm going all over the place, but for the journey event, I mean. So as far as journeys, we do have raids this weekend, though, on top of the billion other things. So journey event, this is probably my go-to team I'm going to be using, because this allows you to switch your hero class as well. I'm using Archmages initially. You might notice on all three of these teams I'm actually using Archmages for the journey event. One thing to consider, though, is you will probably need to switch to like first slot Titan or something very similar as you go deeper. This is mostly for the earlier sections when you want to wipe them out pretty quickly. Though you will eventually get to the point where you absolutely need a tank, and your best way to tank is a hero class like a Barrier on Brown. Maybe even use an Elementalist if you really want to go all in tanking. Though that does mean you don't have half mana start, which might make you lose a little bit of miles due to the team working slower. But anyways, this is actually with the replacement of the Deathclaw, this is actually a pretty common soul farming team in the current state of the game. Well, I'm not sure about super common, not that many people soul farm these days, but you know, ever since Judge of the Dead has come into the game, the Phylactery Judge of the Dead Ferris Raw combo normally would empower mana accumulator, though you can't because you have to use Deathclaw for the extra miles bonus that is required, similar to Bounty Hunter, where you're pretty much forced to have to use 4 bounty troops. One thing that's nice, though, is you're only forced to have to use 1 troop. You don't have to use 4. You simply just use the 1. Keep in mind it does not stack, so using multiple will not give you more points. Just put the 1 on your team. Though definitely do not put 0. You want to have at least him on your team, as it gives you a huge bonus. Anyways, so Phylactery gives you souls, an extra turn. Judge of the Dead does extra damage based on your souls, and Ferris Raw is here for 2 reasons. One, the main one, is to increase the amount of souls total you have, and also you'll be able to kind of one-shot things. Well, not necessarily one-shot, but, you know, pressure a very high amount of damage, also mana accumulating into purple. So that's pretty much the whole team. Deathclaw is kind of just here to exist. Unfortunately, he does not really provide much to the team in that context. However, in this context, he does. This is one where you might want to put hero up. You could also just kind of have it back. You could trade out the weapon for a life and death if you want to. However, I kind of like it this way for a little bit extra mana accumulation into it. So this one uses Deathclaw's actual amount of true damage and hope that it doesn't end up dying. We have Crypt here instead of life and death. It's basically life and death but weaker, but in some contexts like this one, it can end up being stronger. It does have resummon, which might be very useful. It does end up getting still some of the mana drain and other useful things that life and death has. It still has a double true damage poke. Still has a lot of things going for it. And is basically the alternative version. Main reason we want to do this is because there's a lot of things that use brown purple, and we don't necessarily want to have our weapon doing that, so we're basically utilizing the red to get true damage, so we don't end up putting into something useless like Umberwolf. Umberwolf is kind of here literally just for perpetual purple storm and no other reason. A lot of teams that are going to be used for this event, given that we're restricted to only purple, will end up needing to utilize that amount of mana accumulation, and we have Grey King in order to just do a bunch of true damage poke. So yeah, pretty much just a standard high true damage option. Ends up working out pretty well. So is that all of them? Oh no, and then there's the low team. This one we kind of already saw over there. Wall of Bones is mostly just here to tank and give a little bit of mana accumulation, though don't overly use it. I would not advise using a double or triple one, as you'll probably lose score for how long it would take. You would still win, but you would lose a bit of score on it. Next we have Black Manacles, pretty standard, just all around good weapon for just pressuring some damage. Deathclaw is kind of a little bit here to exist, and Umberwolf, normally I try not to put legends in a cheaper team if I can help it. However, Umberwolf is in the event key drop table this week, so it's a little bit easier to obtain than normal, so at least you can end up getting it that way. And he's basically just used for Perpetual Purple Storm in order to make sure you have a bunch of purple to use. Anyways, let me go copy paste the, how about the Soul one? I feel like I'm mostly primarily going to be using this one, at least for the earlier battles anyways. But let's go just kind of show through maybe like 1 or 2 of the Journey battles, and then we'll go into everything else that we need to go cover. So let's go to Guild, go to Journey, go to Fight, and obviously just basically take whatever the higher mile is, put in our team right over here, and you can copy paste them from the description below for easy convenience. And there we go. Okay, so this team is pretty much like the soul farming team, except you don't have an Empower mana accumulator to help get things rolling. However, it is still pretty quick even without it. So we basically just cast this. Oh yeah, we're going to be a little bit short. We actually have to do have to pass our turn here. I mean, reason for that is Black Terry does auto extra turn us, so we can't pass our turn by casting it. But yeah, that's pretty much all we have to do. Cast Black Terry, cast the Judge of the Dead, and we'll be good to go. As you can see right here, we have a little bit extra gold. You generally don't want to like prioritize taking these, but hey, if you're getting a little bit extra resource, might as well. But you do want to prioritize taking the highest number whenever you're going through all of them. Things like the gold don't really matter. The stats, I guess, could be okay, though I feel like the amount of stats that you get don't really make that big of an impact. So they're also kind of worth avoiding just to go for the higher mile number. Pretty much you just want to take whatever the higher mile number is in pretty much any given situation. I'll see if we can try to find a stat here real quick, if we can actually end up getting that deep. If you want to see more of it, we'll also be streaming it probably all tonight when we normally do our stream, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to go pretty deep, might even be doing on Tuesday and Wednesday. If we're going to have to go for that achievement, we're going to have to go pretty deep. We're going to have to do a lot of battles. But if nothing else, at least we'll have some extra potion effects to do some extra damage. So as you can see right over here, we have souls. However, we do just want to go down the extra mile route. No point in going there. We'll go one more, see if we can get a stat. If not, we won't end up showing it here. However, you can eventually find additional stats. They are worth potentially taking as long as you're not sacrificing too many miles for it. The amount of stats are pretty minuscule, so they're not like super high priority to get compared to just taking the higher mile route. So long story short, basically just take the higher mile route every single time. Sometimes you have a triple path here, though it is no different. We'll just end up taking the highest mile route once again. And you pretty much keep doing that over and over and over again. So a pretty structured kind of thing, pretty persistent, kind of like a faction. Actually, if anything else, it's actually easier than a faction because you don't have to do like a multi-room predict, since it doesn't actually show you multiple paths forward. You simply just keep clicking whatever the highest mile is pretty much, and you'll likely be good to go. And it's more so just about winning in as few turns as you possibly can, while also just not dying, and also just not losing, because they do get pretty hard the deeper you go. The earlier ones are obviously, you know, just one shot, as are a lot of events, but they do get pretty challenging later on, especially with how the restriction is preventing you from using too many options. Anyways, let's go over most of the normal stuff we do. So anyways, let's start from the top and go all the way over to the Flaming Skeleton, the new glory trip this week. You can end up getting red purple arcanes, which is quite useful for quite a few things. Most noteworthy, probably Umberwolf. If you don't have that fully traded, you can get him from Event Key Drop Table this week and then get him fully traded off the arcanes that we have. I believe he requires, what, 16, I think, or somewhere around there. So not too many glory you would end up having to spend for it. Plus you get the troop maxed along the way. Or actually, you wouldn't get it maxed, but you'd get it upgraded quite a bit more. But anyways, as far as the Flaming Skeleton is concerned, he's pretty useless. He deals some damage to an enemy and then converts 3 red gems to burning gems. Burning gems, when taken off the board or destroyed, one to burning all enemies. However, this can also backfire on yourself and burn your allies. Overall, pretty underwhelming. There are better ways to burn out there, like Zugoff and Furnace and like anything that isn't him. So you're basically never really going to be using him. Probably his most noteworthy thing is very detrimental, and it's not even that he's good. But if anything, he's really bad in an extremely bad way, in that not only is the troop bad, but he is fireproof. So this makes it so Ghulvania is super not worthwhile to run Zugoff on anymore. I believe the best overall, it technically already was Sword's Edge. I just always had the habit of just doing Ghulvania. It's also the one we already had Shard upgrade for the extra 10%. However, yeah, I would not advise using Zugoff team in Ghulvania anymore. It now has, not only does it have lycanthropy, but it now has 2 very, very annoying fireproofs. And for that reason, yeah, you probably want to go to Sword's Edge or, you know, some other similar king. There's a few different options, but Sword's Edge is a pretty nice tame one that doesn't really have any, like, super ultra annoying mechanics. But yeah, it is a factor, so definitely do not run Explore 12 Zugoff there anymore. It is definitely way more annoying than it already was. Anyways, as far as the event key drop table, I probably mentioned it at least 10 times already this video. However, of course, it is Ghulvania based. As far as what is it within it, there's a few good things. It's not super high priority to go for, though, but there are a few things that, if nothing else, will end up helping you with the journey event, so there's that, if nothing else. If we go to this and click, I'm trying to do it by base rarity, so we can end up seeing all the things at the top. Oh yeah, I forgot, there is actually another one, Draculus, so who cares about Draculus? That's a pretty underwhelming mythic in the current state of the game. Also, one other thing to noteworthy to mention, even though the Ghost Queen is here for 50% mana start for Undead, due to the purple restriction, you cannot actually run it for the current Journey event. So you're most likely using your Umberwolf as a equivalent, which is, if you're wondering why we're using Umberwolf for, I believe, 2 of the teams there, that's the reason why, because you actually can't go the Ghost Queen, you have to go 20% mana start instead. But anyways, as far as what's options here, it's an okay drop table, not super good, not super bad. If you're looking for not mythics, the main things that you're looking for are getting a copy of Umberwolf, especially for this event right now, getting the Ghost Queen, pretty good little 50% mana star Undead troop, not the best 50% mana star out there, but really good synergy with Grey King. And aside from that, nothing really too enticing. The things that are not in the drop table here include all 4 of the troops that are from the faction of Dark Court, as well as the Deathclaw. Of course, Deathclaw is only available through the Journey event. You cannot get it through any other means other than spending gems on the Journey event this week. However, everything other than those 5 are in the event key drop table, though one caveat to that. Grey King, really good mythic. Draculus, not that good of a mythic. However, if you do want to get either of these or both of these, do be mindful that we are getting a Ghulvania mythic most likely this Friday, and if that is the case and it's anything like how Weaver functions, we will not be able to get either of these 2 on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So make sure to use your event keys now or in the next few days if you're looking for Grey King, or for whatever reason Draculus for completion's sake, as Grey King's pretty much the only good one to be going for here. So yeah, make sure to get those event keys in before that time, otherwise it will probably just roll for the new mythic, which you don't want, because you can just go for Glory Gem Guild or VIP chest to get the new mythic. You wouldn't necessarily want to use event keys for it. You'd rather save that for you know, targeting other mythics rather than the newer one like that. Anyways, plus I don't even believe it was that good. It's basically like a weaker Suna, last I recall, unless they end up rebalancing it, but it's basically just weaker Suna. Like, it makes Suna look good. That is how bad the mythic is this Friday, unless they're tweaking it before then. Anyways, other things, obviously we got the Journey event. This is the most noteworthy thing. We've already gone over it quite extensively. However, if you have any questions, feel free to leave in the comment section below. We'll also be streaming it as we do every single night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the channel. Probably today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. I have a feeling it'll take us a while because we're going for the achievement. So I got a lot of grind to go do on that. Anyways, aside from that, other things that we got going on this week, we do have ourselves Tuesday, we got the faction for the Dark Crypt. Wednesday, we have the Ghulvania pet, the little bat there. Thursday, we have the Deathknight hero class. Pretty underwhelming hero class. Overall, just not really that worth using, though it does have a really funny Death Mark gimmick. And this Friday, we're going to be getting a raid event. The raid event is specifically for Penn's Vale. So that's everything that we got going on throughout the week. Most noteworthy thing being the Journey event. Anyways, as far as Soul Forge, I didn't take a peek at it yet. Oh, Tesla. So if you're a newer player, get Tesla. Regardless of what you're saving for, even if it's double Ironhawk, you probably want Tesla. Like, if you have 0 copies of Tesla, you probably want 1 or 2 copies of Tesla, like right now, before the end of this week. It is such a good option. Like, open all the vault keys you got from last vault weekend and try to get a Tesla. It is probably like the most broken thing you can have as a newer player, as there's basically no piece of content where she's usable that she will not auto win for you. She ends up doing a bunch of true damage scatter. It only looks like 8. However, if you read the rest of it, it's boosted by all ally and enemy armor, with the most relevant part about that actually being enemy armor. The main reason for this is the way you'd normally use her is not to buff your own armor, but simply to do game modes where the enemy has a lot of stats. One thing that she can end up doing is just casting a bunch, and because she's doing true damage rather than physical damage, their armor stays intact. So as long as you have a full true damage based team, or literally only using Tesla as your only damage source, or double Tesla, you'll just constantly keep doing damage based on their armor. And everything has a, relatively speaking, generally a pretty even armor HP value. More often than not, as stats go higher and higher, the discrepancy between the two get lower and lower. As you can see, like, there's only a 6 difference here, yet the stats are at 100. So the discrepancy between HP and armor is generally pretty low, especially as you start getting higher and higher stats on various units. And this is really good for basically every game mode where it is difficult. So if you're struggling with like daily dungeons or pet battles or level 500 explore or literally anything, she will just scale to it. So you just keep spamming her. You still get the full amount of boost ratio. It scales based on the enemy, and there basically isn't a single piece of content she cannot scale her way up to. So really, really great legendary. That's pretty much like a mythic that you can get for only 800 gems. So definitely advise picking up 1 or 2 if you currently have 0 of them. Aside from that, looks like mythics are pretty underwhelming this week, so I'd probably skip on all of them unless you just need them for completion's sake. I guess one other thing somewhat worth mentioning mentioning here, though definitely Tesla is like 1,000 times higher priority. However, if you don't have Surquet and Hadley, but do have Guard's Avatar, it is a pretty good combo that's ran for factions. I believe I'm even showing it for one of the teams for tomorrow's faction event. It's not really too big a deal to have. However, it's kind of like running Rowan, Mirage Queen, or something similar. It ends up working very similarly for faction events. His most noteworthy thing is he gives 50% mana start to Knights. Not an absolute must-have, definitely higher, way higher priority to get double Tesla if you have 0 of them, or even a single Tesla. But yeah, it's still worth mentioning, as he is a pretty good utility troop, but Tesla is a billion times better, so just get Tesla. Anyways, as far as weapons are concerned, the most noteworthy one is Doom Scythe. Doom Scythe is the category of Doom weapon that isn't useless. It's the best category of Doom weapon. It deals damage to all enemies, has the Doom Skill Convert. Very strong weapon. It is the main priority of Doom weapons that you want to get. This is the purple version of the good Doom weapons. Oddly enough, I feel like the purple one isn't used as much, as there's already so many good scythes within the game that it's a little bit lower priority. However, I still would advise getting it. Out of everything that's available for Ghulvania, it is the most noteworthy. One other thing to keep in mind is that if you're super light in the game, you might need to pick up every single last Ghulvania weapon that you haven't already gotten here, as it is a pretty tight window. There are 13 Ghulvania weapons, and for one of the upgrades, which I don't think I can see it here anymore because I already did it. However, the upgrade to get it from 25 to 26 does require you to have 12 Ghulvania weapons fully maxed. There are only 13 in the game, and one of them is money locked if you didn't get them ages back, which means if you're not getting the money locked one, you theoretically need every single Ghulvania weapon to be maxed to get it to 26 stars, and I would not advise trying to get to 27, even though it's theoretically possible this Friday. However, if you're not getting the chain flail, if you don't have it or not spending the money for it, if you're free to play, you have to have literally every Ghulvania weapon maxed in order to end up getting to that point. Even here, I don't end up having them all maxed. I actually didn't bother upgrading Trick or Treat, though I easily could, obviously. I just deliberately didn't end up upgrading it. However, yeah, it will require upgrading absolutely everything except Chain Flail, or everything except Doom Scythe, if you happen to have that. Basically, you have to upgrade every Ghulvania weapon except for one. My one happened to be Trick or Treat here. However, your one will probably be whatever one you happen to not have, either Chain Flail, Doom Scythe, or whatever it happens to be. Maybe you missed out on the Trick or Treat Halloween event from earlier, though it is still obtainable if you get if you open a lot of alt keys. You can still find a troop that lets you craft them. But anyways, so other things, Soul Forge. I think that was everything. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's everything. Anyways, let's go over to the last of the teams. So, of course, everything that we mentioned for the Journey events are in the description below. We had the Soul Forming team here that also ends up doing a lot of damage, which is probably my go-to one for most of it. We have the True Damage build. Oddly enough, I did not show a Skull Spam build. Once it gets, like, super ultra deep, you might have to be forced into a Skull Spam build. I'm trying not to, because the problem with Skull Spam is it could backfire. And that's my biggest concern, because they're going to do way more damage than you can do back to them. So that's my biggest concern when going forward with it. But anyways, there's also a cheaper team here. I would not necessarily advise this if you can try to get some bigger options into the team, though. But if you need to go with something like super cheap, it will end up getting the job done up to a certain point. I don't think you can end up getting an achievement with that, though. The achievement's going to be really hard. Not only does it get pretty difficult, but it requires thousands of gems, so do be wary of that. Anyways, as far as the faction tomorrow, it's what was Dark Crypt, which ends up giving the or Dark Court. I kept seeing Dark Crypt. I think it's called Dark Court, actually. But anyways, actually, I can check right here. Pure faction is the Dark Court. Okay, yeah, I'm not sure why I keep saying Dark Crypt. They both start with a C, same difference. Anyways, this was the team I was mentioning earlier with Guards, Avatar, Surquet, and Hadley. I wouldn't necessarily go out of your way to get Surquet and Hadley, but if you already have Tesla or double Tesla, and you happen to have Guards Avatar laying around, it's a utility trip that's maybe worth getting. However, you will eventually just have them off of random drops, so maybe not worth going out of your way for. However, I do use them pretty consistently, or, you know, pretty regularly for Tuesday events, mostly for the Guards, Avatar, Surquet, and Hadley build, which is basically like Rowan, Mirage Queen when you can't use Rowan, Mirage Queen, which you can't under a yellow-purple restriction, which will be for tomorrow's faction. Because the yellow-purple restriction, you can go pretty standard hiking Iron Good Zugoff team or any other variant you want to go. It's pretty flexible. It's a pretty easy color to end up forming them into. For Pure Faction, it's basically to spam the legend into one tank. Which one you choose to tank with is up to you. However, in this particular team, I'm using the one that has barrier since it's going to be a bit more consistent. Ends up destroying a column, drains some mana from the first enemy for every purple destroyed, and gains barrier. Most noteworthy thing about any of that is it gains barrier, so it'll help it not die. It also has some natural bulk off of some skull reduction. However, the main reason you use him is literally just the fact he can barrier himself, which will hopefully allow him to survive all the way to the end. And then you just keep spamming the legendary until you win, and that's pretty much the whole premise of the pure faction battle. Next we have the Deathknight class. Pretty underwhelming hero class. However, you can still end up getting EXP and everything for it this Thursday, as well as those 25 gems. Pretty much standard Black Manacle team. You're likely going to get Umberwolf. If you don't have Umberwolf, I do advise at least opening event keys to get that. Umberwolf's a pretty nice utility troop. That and a 50% undead start. If you're not going for the mythics or anything, you do probably want to pick up at least both of those, which hopefully you can end up doing in about 50 to a couple hundred event keys, depending on luck. That is basically just a use mana link, get a bunch of purple into Black Manacle auto win, and go from there. And Umberwolf's is here for the extra bit of Purple Storm to get those purples in there. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, we do have a Pan's Vale raids this weekend. So that'll be starting on Friday and go for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It is basically just a pretty standard raid team. You use Mangs to hit Zugoff. You use whatever the raid slayer is to go slay the boss, and the rest is just support. This is pretty flexible what you run for the rest of the team. This particular run Siren to give us a little bit of mana there at the start of battle, and Luna's just kind of here for, or Luna I mean, is just here for basically just a little bit of support. And you can end up replacing that for a second Siren, some kind of a different damage source, some kind of different mana accumulator. It just depends. That was pretty flexible. And yeah, this should be all you end up needing for the weekend raids. Anyways, guys, I'll wrap it up for now. As I mentioned, all the teams mentioned below are in the description, or all the teams I mentioned are in the description below. Other than that, we will be streaming the factions, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we do every single night. Or not the faction, but the journey event. We will be going all the way for leaderboard. Not to make the top of the leaderboard, but, you know, I'll be going for the achievement, if nothing else, which will probably get us leaderboard. So we'll have a bit of fun with that. We don't get journey that often. We will be getting it again, even though it's been 5 months since the previous journey. The next journey after this journey should be in about 2 months from now, because this month we're going to be getting the next patch, which will be reworking factions, and then next month we should hopefully be getting a new kingdom. And with new kingdom, we'll probably get the new kingdom pass system that they've kind of been doing with new kingdoms lately since the last one. However, that also means a new journey event will end up coming with it, and that should be in approximately 2 months from now. So we want, even though we have to wait quite a bit for this journey event, the next one shouldn't be that far away. So we do have that to look forward to. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. As always, greatly appreciated. I'll catch you guys soon. Hope you all have a wonderful week. Best of luck with everything. Goodbye, everyone.